qua đâu hoa ca này hai na ước đó đã lấy đi đi na đó để sâu thì để ski hai để quay đã xa ale oh hey ai oh the last ula hi kana ga chi ge yo cho hi te chi I'm quanta chakali sori to do the lana. I say a cola, a kilo histi, nagini losa. Alleluia, la chidas ka kligo diwo ye nina just kina gonko alishte. At the way I got low ye honi he dejido I say no just kina uanisti ike sana. I say no me guru guti. Sanahi, the gari day, Jahasina, Adante. I said no me, Guru Gudi, Sana Gaisa. They got the scratch, you gonna wee. Amaha, they got so steep. Slash la dega la sanui ale degieska elesla ayokli hasty kana hasty nusta kahida na akota iasta no good kichi ale akido da ale tali joja dala unana gida iya uyashla ustigunana Aya gesa wa just see it dini gastino aniso shlagona just see it da go altiski yigi gala awatisha yage hey I said no ni guru kuti une sanahi the gari day jahasina adante di I said no ni guru Sana Gaisa They got those guns you gonna win Ama They got so stay They got those guns you gonna win Ama They got so stay
Kilokayida gotta go, gonna fly. Gonna fly, dolly nadi, gonna fly. Study go, atadi ani, ya osto uni yella gali, scott lesti, jadana, teddy hesti, klani gari yina daga. Jini gali stani stajo kodi gaste stori danane loha ska itlesti jadana teri skisti slago gusti jaki une koisti Dulis to go di na another ne eli iski plus dagori yawa duli aseski si na ihilugo na another ne eli iski Dulis to go di na another ne eli iski Juda dat na ci skła, and the way
Staya husky, kosanali Johnny ga. Da tege oskaya chiateti da juhi. Gonna get kane sa'i, di jalto hisna'i.
That up here? Let me put it up, or are you gonna put it up? Where you want? Right here? Okay. Right there? Okay. What I want to play one more song. I want to play it for Chris Fielding over here, Durbin Fielding's wife. 30 years ago, I was going to California. It's my first time out of the state, and Chris and Durbin told me, Tommy, when you're going out that way, put gas in that car. Everywhere you go. I still remember that. So I'm going to play this song for Durbin called Dondago Hoye. What do? Nagada. See the mela, Dogada, the Southeast, Nagada, Madame, Dodago.
Sio iti jalek. Ooh, that's a good sound. We got some folks still checking in. We got some back row Baptists. Can you hear me back there? Well, it's good to see everyone. Welcome. Man, it's a good day, and it's truly an honor for me to be here in front of you, so wadon for letting me do that. This is the largest speaker gathering in modern Cherokee Nation history. How about that? Let's hear it for that. Right here in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. We are going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to ask a gentleman to come forward who's a big supporter of the language. He works day in and day out, and some nights in there too, I believe. And he devotes his time to Cherokee Nation, specifically the language, because it's deep rooted in his family. Ladies and gentlemen, our Chief of Staff at the Cherokee Nation, Mr. Corey Bunch.
CO. Ah, that is a beautiful sound, Canaan. Jalagi, Scastio, Nagada, Doha. All right. Ule Heleste. All right. There we go. Corey Bunch, Dawado. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Corey Bunch. You know, when I was growing up as a kid, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents in the Bell community, southern Adair County. Some of you guys might remember my grandparents, Charlie and Inola Bunch, Suyet. Back then, I thought my Cherokee name must have been Heste Chuch. That's all I heard all day long, Heste, Heste. Those were some great times. Joe Bird, you'll remember, kids back in the 80s in the Bell community were kind of rough around the edges, but I enjoyed those times. We've got a great day planned for you. We are here to celebrate, of course, all of our Cherokee speakers. We've got some good folks that you're going to hear from throughout this event. But I just want to say that, you know, we have a lot of families. We have a lot of communities. We have a lot of church leaders. We have a very strong chief, deputy chief, tribal council. We all know how important our language is and how special it is. Amen? Amen. We know what it meant to our ancestors. We know that the language is much more than just communicating. It defines who we are, and all of us know that. So it is our responsibility to do what we can to keep it alive for our ancestors and those who will come to follow us. But again, I just want to say welcome. We hope you have a wonderful day. Wadon.
Wado, Chief of Staff. Let's give him another round of applause for using Cherokee. I know that's hard to do because it makes you nervous. You know, I grew up in a house with a first language speaker, and I've gotten giggles and smiles trying to say things my whole life. So it really does make me proud to see a Cherokee leader come up and use the language and become more comfortable with it. That's right. At this time, I'm going to ask a gentleman to come up who his family, the language is their legacy. He's a fine man to know. He's the brother of Durbin Filling, and we're going to start this meeting off the way we do everything. That's asking the Creator for His blessing on this day, for His protection, and His blessing over this celebration today, because that's why we're here to celebrate. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Russell Filling.
I got this far, so I'll just come on up. Vi dagen at tenaka uli helistu au vodu ig da nesas koig så lag I dimonist ig at lohisti skena de gasto no edele eligi si u nesa na he de gat I de daro lista Gianesa na ogi do orle ski stelle ski gis skulle geloft det danto og giluftig ni jada na gadil I jaleli che nusta te danesa na koig ganelgia dulsasta joget losse histi det ski ganodi ses det var tella sa ko do da guidisa I jaleli che la din datni do ga yogi ka hala de god Kom stille hier nog, toen hij langs dan hè. De dan is aan de eerste kaart gehoest. Oosta geessa tynyktä niitä aastella, eikä lähti jugeessa nystä oasta heillä näkö ja geessa nana. Skana nikas no hino. Ijan lelice sagu gagad. Ijan luchis. Iski gaan no die ook udora guidisa. Eller gad eske geessa ogili dasne dola. Die geskenella geessa est. Skin nagoisi hest kan du jukna deal. Ogastella niitä asti, joka on kiisti. Nyt tätä tuista näytä jeligo. Tigesu naga disk. Skisteliskesto joka on kiisti. Du jukta na jogata skisteliskesto jaesa. Se lopti jis. Nigo hila e naskigu wenigasta.
What on, Russell? Let's give him another round of applause. Russell. Okay, at this time, I'm going to introduce a few folks, but before we do that, do we have any folks in the audience that have served in the military? Any veterans here today? If you have, please stand so that we can recognize you, or raise your hand if you're not able to stand. All right, let's see how many hands and stands we get for this. How many Cherokee speakers do we have here today? Let's give them a big round of applause. Give yourselves a big round of applause. All right. I'd like to introduce some other folks here with us. We are going to hear from him in just a moment. There's just so many great things we can say about this individual. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Principal Chief, Chuck Hoskin, Jr. And his partner, our Deputy Principal Chief, Mr. Brian Warner. We also have former Principal Chief and current Executive Chairman of Cherokee Nation Businesses, Mr. Bill John Baker. We have former Deputy Principal Chief, former Principal Chief, and current Cherokee Nation Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Mr. Stanley Joe Crittenden. From the Cabinet, we just heard from him. Let's give him another round of applause. Our Chief of Staff, Mr. Corey Bunch. We have our Attorney General, Mr. Chad Harsha. Our Cherokee Nation Treasurer, Ms. Janice Taylor. We have our Cherokee Nation Secretary of Natural Resources, Ms. Christina Justice. Our Cherokee Nation Delegate to Congress and Senior Vice President of Government Relations, Ms. Kim Teehee. And again, I am Deputy Secretary of State Kanan Duncan. Thank you for letting me be here today. We have with us as well former Principal Chief, former Speaker of the Tribal Council, and current Cherokee Nation Special Envoy for International Affairs and Language Preservation, Mr. Joe Byrd. Also a first language speaker, Joey G. All right, from our Tribal Council, Speaker of the Tribal Council, he said his Cherokee name growing up that he heard was Utaquist. It's Mr. Mike Shambaugh. From District 2 in the Tribal Council, Councilor Candessa Teehee. From District 3, Councilor Lisa Hall. From District 8, Councilor Cody Poindexter. From District 10 and Cherokee Speaker, Tribal Councilor Melvina Shot-Pouch. We have Cherokee Nation royalty here with us today. Miss Cherokee Keely Sanders. We have Little Cherokee Ambassador Sky Roswell. From our Cherokee Nation Businesses Board of Directors, we have Sean Shepard, Mr. Jerry Holderby, Dan Carter, and Brent Taylor. We'd also like to make a special recognition of the wife of Durbin Filling, Miss Christine Filling. Okay, at this time, I'm going to let you guys enjoy some beautiful music from our Cherokee National Youth Choir. Let's give them a round of applause. Ostas Deacon East. Yeah, give them another round of applause. All right, at this time, it's truly an honor to introduce this next gentleman. He's a man, another guy that's not afraid to learn the language and use what he learns because he knows it's important. He knows within our language there's these inherent values that help us understand each other. I'm proud to know him. I'm proud to watch him work every day and see all that he pours into the Cherokee Nation and making it a better place. Ladies and gentlemen, our Deputy Principal Chief, Mr. Brian Warner.
Siona God? Yeah. Woo! Man, that is infectious right there. That is so good. And you know what a wonderful way to start the day. Russell, Waton, thank you for balancing that table for us and bringing the Creator into mine. And Miss Mary Kay, always wonderful, bringing that healing through a song. And I want to say thank you to you, Mary Kay, and Miss Candace for the work that y'all continue to do. That it means everything. And you know, I was walking in and I see so many people, and one of the proudest moments is today for me is seeing so many folks that I've gotten to know over the last 8 to 10 years, and really not just getting to know them by name and by face, but to know their spirit and know where they come from and how they look into your eyes and how you look into their eyes, and see where are they coming from. And I think that's what it's all about when we gather today. And I'm reminded today is all about love. Today is something that we gather here today because you love your language. You love one another. You love your ancestors, and you love those that are yet to be formed in the womb. In 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 8, it says, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. It's such an important day that we remain balanced, that we find that we set that table. Because as we set that table, if we ask the Lord to come set that table with us, then we are following Jesus' legacy that he has left here for us to all follow. We cannot do anything unless that table has been properly set. So our Creator, he brings us to a spot together, and no doubt we are gathered here in the center of what we all want to do. Not just save the language, but as many have said before, but to perpetuate that language, because it is a language of love. It is a language that has stood the test of time since time immemorial. And we have a lot of work to do today, so I'm glad that you're all gathered here today, because the work does not stop today. Love one another, fellowship with one another, visit, meet new people, because the more that language is heard throughout, individuals like me, individuals in my family household, can understand what it means to say Gagayui, I love you, in Cherokee. These things are so important. As I was coming down, I run into Miss Myrtle Driver, and she wanted me to tell a special note to all of our stickball players that just come back from Cherokee, North Carolina. She says, on behalf of the stickball fans from Cherokee, North Carolina, congratulations. And the games played well and honorably to the stickball team from here at the Cherokee Nation. They played with honor and dignity, and they hope to see you again in Cherokee. So thank you for that, Miss Myrtle. That means the most to each and every one of us. And I also want to say this in closing. We're here to prepare a table for each of you. And as we go to prepare, we want to understand what it is to be a servant. So we're preparing that table for those basketball teams that are on their way for this winter in December. And I know that the kids that are playing the ball from Cherokee, North Carolina, will make sure that we receive them well and we take care of them just as you took care of us. So, Wadon, thank you. But as we go today, folks, I ask that you remember that it is love that brought us here today. And it is that love that will cover over a multitude of things that may have gone wrong. But the Lord has provided that path no matter what is going on around us. It has already been written. As Gary Van reminded me coming in, it's already been written and the war has already been won. We just need to stand fast in our faith, stand fast in our direction and the vision that the Creator has given each of us so that we may do the work of the wonderful work of what our Creator has put before us today. Well, don't. Thanks be to God, folks.
Well, Deputy, let's give him another big round of applause. The war has been won. I like that. I like that. If we look around that and apply that to saving our language, the war of saving our language, we look over here at the Durbin Fill-In Language Center, and all of these speakers in this room, how are we doing in the war on saving our language, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, at this time, we have a video that we are going to watch. So please direct your attention that way. Thank you. today continue on our shared mission to keep whole what it means to be Cherokee, a great facility named for our late great language warrior, Durbin Feeling. Language, that chain that links every one of us, will not be broken.
When we started going out to these different speakers' homes, we started seeing a need to start helping.
It's really incredible what Speaker Services has done with a relatively small amount of money. It started out with maybe, tens of thousands of dollars, maybe a few $100,000. That has now come to, over the next 3 years, we'll spend over $7 million.
It's because of the diligence of men like Sequoia, Durbin Feeling. It's because of the diligence of our beloved elders. It's because of the diligence of our beloved women of our tribe that we will see to a future that is brighter, where the language is spoken, where the language is understood.
Teaching the language and learning the language and speaking the language should be a priority and must be a priority if we want to save the language, if we want to keep being Cherokee.
We are an ancient people, extolled by the Nehemiah to keep certain ways intact unto the very end of time. All of these things hinge on our sacred language remaining in the soul of our nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, again, it is my honor to introduce this next gentleman. Before he comes up, I want to say something about him that I've had the fortune of knowing him for a long time as a mentor, as a friend, as a boss. When he first came on as Secretary of State, we would sit and we would talk about things that we would like to see done one day and dream. And one of the first things that he ever told me about dreaming about to make better is the Cherokee language. And that's our principal chief. That's what he values, is our language. This was 5 or 6 years ago. He's been planning this for a long time, folks, and I don't see him stopping anytime soon. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our principal chief, Mr. Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Hello, Deputy Secretary, and Deputy Chief Warner, members of the council, members of the cabinet, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and a privilege to report to you on the state of the Cherokee language. It's an even greater privilege to call for more action in the years to come. Nearly 4 years ago today, we made history with the signing of the Durbin Feeling Language Preservation Act. In September of 2019, Deputy Chief Warner and I announced the legislation at an event much like today's gathering. In fact, as I recall, Special Envoy Byrd, you had suggested we gather the speakers together and simply have a meal. And that sparked something very special. Within a month of that gathering, working with the council, the Durbin Feeling Act became law. Our declaration 4 years ago is one that we reaffirm today. The Cherokee language is precious. It is worth saving, and it falls upon this generation to lead a revitalization. Now, in 2019, that audience of fluent speakers had reason to be joyful in the gathering just for the sake of gathering. But no one could blame them if they were skeptical about our announcement. No one could blame them for having some doubt that this new chief, around whom they could speak circles in Cherokee in our mother tongue, could bring about a revitalization of our language. I wonder if even our late great language warrior, my dear friend Durbin Feeling, himself had reservations as he sat out in that audience at the Cherokee Heritage Center on that beautiful fall day 4 years ago. And if that mission had fallen on me alone, we certainly would have failed. If the burden were mine alone to bear, we would not have moved towards saving our language. If the task of reversing centuries of decline in our language and culture fell upon the shoulders of a single elected official, let alone me, we would all be mere witnesses to our further decline. But I stand here today and I say that we are on a sure path to Cherokee language revitalization. That is a true statement because the Durbin Feeling Act says that the burden of the great rebirth of our language and culture is not my burden to bear. It's not your burden to bear. It is our burden to bear, and we share it joyfully. The Durbin Feeling Language Preservation Act says that revitalizing the Cherokee language is our mission, and it's our triumph to achieve together. The law declared the loss of our language a national crisis, and it committed us as a people to do something more about it. The law was based on an idea that our language is the chain that links all of us back to our Creator, and that is a chain that must not be broken. We started, of course, with the foundation laid by those who came before us, leaders before Deputy Chief Warner and I, including Chief Baker, had great vision and committed great resources. And I want to say that I am thankful for, and I hope we're all thankful for, Chief Bill John Baker setting the tone for language preservation that has allowed us to continue it on. Because of those who came before us, we knew what worked. We knew what was ripe for more investment, and we knew what needed to be improved. But in 2019, this much was clear. If we did not dramatically scale up our efforts, make the loss of our language a true national emergency, we would all be witnesses to the sun setting on the great Cherokee language, and therefore the sun setting on Cherokee culture. That would be a failure. We are not a people who were meant to fail. And so the law committed us in spirit and in substance to make the cause of language revitalization a true national priority. In 2019, our language department's budget stood at $5.6 million, and our facilities at that time were undersized. The Durbin Feeling Act pushed us to commit $20 million to build our new state-of-the-art language center, which sits just across the way. It pushed us to commit $18 million to open our new language campus in Adair County in the community of Greasy. Thanks to that law, we ramped up our operating dollars for our language program from $5.6 million in 2019 to $18 million plus today. We not only tripled our language department budget since 2019, but we more than doubled our full-time workforce in the language department. We more than doubled the number of Cherokees assisting us in that department on contract. Often these contractors are fluent-speaking elders who may not be able to or want to work full-time, but they have something valuable to contribute to this great mission. We've also given nearly 40 more Cherokee citizens a chance to work on special on-the-job training programs for fluent speakers. We are building a workforce who are leading this mission to revitalize our language, and we are giving them state-of-the-art facilities to perform this vital work. We've also grown some of our most promising programs. In 2019, we had 7 apprentices in our innovative Master Apprentice language program. Today, as we speak, we have 29 apprentices in that program. And that workforce that I told you about, the one that we doubled, it includes graduates of this great and innovative program. And what about those little Cherokee kids who can also speak circles in Cherokee around this chief? What about them? What about those immersion school students plus that new class of precious babies in our baby immersion program? They're on their way to speaking circles around me. Well, we have increased immersion enrollment across Tahlequah and Greasy campuses by 36% in the last 4 years. Each of those Cherokee kids, each of those immersion students hold in their hearts and in their minds more potential for a rebirth of our language than any chief ever could. That is what makes me so confident and optimistic that we will succeed on this mission. And to ensure that we are all on this mission, the Durbin Feeling Act is making the language more accessible and more relevant to the Cherokee people. We're leaning into the creative arts to generate a new language content, and we are leaning on our relationships with technology companies to keep us on the cutting edge when it comes to language. And we are reaching near and far to give our citizens ways to learn. We reach across the country and even around the world every year to over 6,000 online students, and our community language classes are growing and growing. Just a few weeks ago, we named a director of a new community outreach effort to bring more in-person language classes to Cherokees here at home and in our at-large communities. That man, by the way, that director is Kevin Stretch. Let's give him a round of applause. And it's not just the Cherokee language, the Cherokee Nation, where we are seeing these efforts. I know there are representatives here of a program that sets outside of the Cherokee Nation but is showing such great promise with its own baby immersion efforts. The Cherokee Little Seeds program is hope for the future, and I know those representatives are here, and we appreciate your efforts and applaud you for all the work that you're doing with those little babies. Now, finally, the Durbin Feeling Act led to one of the most important programs that I think has ever been created at the Cherokee Nation, Speaker Services. We recognized 4 years ago that a great barrier to strengthening the state of Cherokee language was the state of Cherokee speakers. We recognize that our first language fluent speakers are mostly elders, and too many of them lack the kind of quality of life that they deserve. Too many of them lived in the shadows. We launched Speaker Services with the idea that if we expect our elder fluent speakers to be here for us, to help us save the Cherokee language, we need to be there for them. We needed to go to their doorstep if need be. We needed to show them that this nation can only make our language a priority if we make the lives of our speakers a priority. And so Sammy Eagle and his team, as well as a team of outreach specialists in our public health department, have been hard at work. Speaker Services has impacted nearly 600 households in just a few years. They're fixing roofs, they're building ramps, they're making minor home repairs. This team has replaced over 1,000 appliances and replaced 30 homes, all for our fluent speakers. I suppose we could put a price, we could put a dollar figure on what Speaker Services is doing. But Speaker Services has led the charge on an effort on which no one can put a price, showing our fluent speakers the respect that they deserve. That's priceless. My fellow Cherokees, the Durbin Feeling Language Preservation Act is moving us in the right direction. It has placed us all squarely on a shared mission to revitalize our language and culture. It is producing results and it is instilling hope. The Durbin Feeling Act, which expires next year, has created an opportunity for generational change. As I said in my State of the Nation address, this says State of the State. Governors give State of the States. Chiefs give State of the Nation. I don't want a demotion. As I said in my State of the Nation address, if we stand still, we will fall behind. On this mission, we shall not fall behind. And so by the end of this calendar year, Deputy Chief Warner and I will send legislation to the Council to make the Durbin Feeling Language Preservation Act the permanent law of the land. Our proposal will permanently authorize the core areas of language revitalization that are so vital to our mission. We will propose that the Cherokee Nation Language Department record-setting $18 million operating budget will now become its minimum operating budget. We'll start from $18 million a year and we'll build up from there. Our legislation will call on the Language Department to propose steady increases over time so that we base it on sound strategic goals, effective programs, and measurable outcomes. In fact, we believe that success on our mission will require that we actually double annual spending over the next 7 years. The new Durbin Feeling Act will also call for major capital investment. We will propose the construction of a $30 million Cherokee Nation immersion middle school right here in Tahlequah, right over there. And just as we did with the expansion of the immersion program to Greasy, it is vital that we push more of our language department programming to more Cherokee-speaking communities. So in that spirit, this morning I signed a directive to identify opportunities for language campus expansion to other communities. I'm entrusting with this task our Executive Director of Language, Howard Payton, our Chief of Staff, Corey Bunch, and our Treasurer, Janice Taylor. The question for this group of advisors will not be whether we should expand to more communities. We know we must expand. The question will be, where should we expand, and what kind of expansion best ensures success on our mission to revitalize the Cherokee language? Mr. Payton, Chief of Staff Bunch, and Treasurer Taylor will provide their recommendations to the Deputy Chief and me within approximately 1 month. Over the course of their work, they will engage some key people who have a heart and a mind for this mission. That includes Special Envoy Byrd. It includes our construction experts, including John Asbill. It includes our Deputy Secretary of State, Kanan Duncan. It includes my senior advisor, Todd Enlow. They will create a path forward. They will deliver it to the Deputy Chief and I, and we will incorporate it into our proposal to the Council for the new Durban Feeling Language Act. My fellow Cherokees, what I am proposing is an annual commitment of this nation's resources at levels never before seen in the name of language preservation. I'm proposing a renewed declaration that the loss of Cherokee language is a loss of Cherokee existence. I am proposing that we organize anew around a mission to save our language now and make it vital for generations yet unborn. Nothing I propose, no budgets we set, no buildings we build, no law on the books can alone make this language reborn. Only our shared commitment to a mission to revitalize the Cherokee language will ensure its success. Whether we succeed on this mission depends on whether every Cherokee citizen joins us on this mission and works in some way to help us succeed. My fellow Cherokees, ask yourself if this mission is worth our best effort. And if this mission is worth our best effort, then you must ask yourself whether we can succeed on this mission. On this mission, one on which we cannot fail and we must not fail, the answer must be, yanadididaga, yes, we can. Thank you all very much. Wado.
What do we think about our Principal Chief, ladies and gentlemen? All right. Well, thank you, Chief. Wadon. You know, Chief talked a lot about the workforce and how important they are. And that reminds me, we have a lot of folks here that have helped put this day together. They're continuing to help make sure this day works out great. So if you're a Cherokee Nation employee that helped with this event, please stand or raise your hand, and let's give them a big round of applause, everyone. Everybody in turquoise shirts went like this. Well, we thank you very much for that. You know, Chief talked about a lot of exciting initiatives coming forward. And we're excited about those. They wouldn't be possible without good partners on the Tribal Council. This next gentleman is a guy that I've had the pleasure of working alongside. He is a good partner on Tribal Council. He cares. He works hard every day for you guys. The leader of our Tribal Council, the Speaker, please welcome Mr. Mike Shambaugh.
CO. Another great crowd, another great day in the Cherokee Nation. Aren't we blessed? I mean, you look over here at this wonderful building that was devoted to our language preservation. You look at our complex, you look at our softball fields. You know, when you think about Cherokee Nation and what it is to be Cherokee, we're doing it today. It's about the fellowship. It's about showing up together. It's about talking. It's about enjoying ourselves. You know, the things that is important to us in life. We are really showcasing that today. And whenever you look at our leadership, you know, it used to almost scare me when I had to speak after Chief Hoskin and Deputy Warner, because after they spoke, it's very hard to talk after that. Because Chief is very, very passionate, and he obviously loves what he's doing. He has a love for his people. But then when I started thinking about it, you know, I thought, you know what? This is the way it's supposed to be. This is what your leader is supposed to be like. So, you know, I embrace it now. And when I look back at the language in my family and my roots, I am not a speaker. And when I was young, every weekend about was spent at the creek, and very little English was spoken then. And you know, we ate, there was a lot of fellowship, I remember a lot of laughter, but I asked my mom, and if you were here before, I told you why. I said, why didn't you teach me Cherokee? And she said, when I was in school, if you taught Cherokee, you got beat. And she got beat, and she said, none of my kids were going to go through that again. You know, we don't have to worry about things like that anymore. But, you know, for a guy like me to see where I was back then and where I am now, there's things in me that never die. I remember those days on the creek where I was with Rob Daugherty, my cousin, and some other relatives. You know, we would go gig fish to eat. And, you know, I would remember you would hear, "Neh, neh." That meant look. I mean, it's over here. And, you know, I have never lost that. And even when, you know, the ladies, I remember, they used to line up across the creek and walk down the creek and overturn rocks. And I couldn't do it, but they could. And they would just reach down and grab the crawdads, you know, G-stun. And they would throw them in the bucket. And they would get mad because I gigged them because I'd kill them and they would go back. I mean, it was just, I couldn't grab them. I didn't see how they did it. But all those things from my youth, I never forgot. And one thing that amazed me just not too long ago, listening to the youth choir. The kids get up there and they start singing hymns and songs in Cherokee church songs. I remembered every single word, and I could have sung those songs with him, and I cannot believe I still retain that from my childhood. So when we look at what we are doing in the Cherokee Nation to preserve our language, it is so important to target our youth, because the things that we learn in our youth, they stick with us a lifetime. Even though I can't speak, I can't tell you how many words I know and the things that come back in my mind. So when Chief says that we are going to go into other communities and start these programs into other communities, I can't think of a better way than to get our youth engaged. If you've ever been to Concord School, we visited. It's crazy. You know, if you've been in Sam's, they got the projector that shoots on the floor and you almost kind of fall because it messes you up. Well, at Concord, they've got the Cherokee word of the day. And every time you walk by, they're projecting it on the floor. They're projecting different things so those kids see that every single day. So you got places like Kansas and Jay who are now having their own language courses. So this is going to be something that I think that will become nationwide, in our nation, Cherokee nationwide. And this is how one way we are going to preserve our language. But nothing can be done without great leadership. And I would just like to say thank you from the Tribal Council. You will have our support. Absolutely. Chief, you have our support. You know, the last time we were here, it was about like 2 degrees, if you remember that. Gosh, it was cold, and we were all freezing, and it was a packed house. But, you know, just like today, it's just a great day to be a Cherokee Nation. It's a great day to be Cherokee. So in closing, I'll say this. Kanan Duncan, whenever he said, well, I get what he called me, maybe a brat or a what? A pest. Yes, a pest. I was going to try to talk on that, but Rob Daugherty will tell you that when I was young, I guess I talked so much and I'd sing all the time that they would give me nickels and dimes to shut up. So I guess I might have been a pest, but I could sing songs in Cherokee. I still could. I just don't have the voice anymore. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, it's a wonderful day. May the Creator bless you all. Wadon.
Thank you, Speaker. The thing I learned from that is that he's friends with Rob Daugherty. Boy, I don't know why he's saying that. Rob's here somewhere. Everybody, if you don't know him, go meet him sometime today. Hey, before we go any further, I also was reminded right then when we were talking about employees putting this wonderful event on. There's a gentleman here who was a big part in putting this on. He's worked hard. I drove by yesterday, which is the day Cherokee Nation was off, and he was out here working. And it's also his birthday today. So we're not going to sing happy birthday because I don't want to hear Mike try to sing. But let's say happy birthday and give a big round of applause to Mr. Cameron Fight James. Thank you, Cameron. We appreciate all you've done. At this time, I'm going to invite a gentleman to come up. I think most of you guys know him here. His passion for the language, it's just the parent. He'll fight you for it. He'll fight you, then he'll sit down and he'll pray with you and love on you afterwards. He's so passionate about saving the Cherokee language. It's what he lives and breathes every day. I'm proud to know him. I'm proud of all that he's done and is going to do. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Utawatisk Howard Payton.
So after Chief spoke, I told him I went over there and had a couple of questions to ask him, but I truly wanted to get in the shade because when you have a bald head, you try to get in the shade. I'll be glad when wearing caps and big events like this becomes popular because it would help me out quite well. And just before I got up, my good friend Chief Baker, he told me, he said, I just want you to know one thing, Howard. The only thing is between us and food is you, is what he said. And so it's already kind of messing with me. He's all 100% in fun and good, and we get to have the privilege to joke around with one another. This is a beautiful day. Last year, you're correct, Speaker, it felt like it was 2 degrees, and the only thing that had it worse than us was the hogs on Cherokee Nation at that time, right? But it was good. This time we don't have to have walls on the tent, and we're able just to be a neat chalak, just enjoy one another. And I am thankful that Chief has called out to us and said, hey, let's make this an annual event. And I think that's a good thing, is for give him a round of applause. Ugawiyu, Talene Ugawiyu, no. Ija Yeli, Jisi, Aguantan, Chalaka ni Wonisk, Gay Yeli, Jisi, Squim, Dokan. They all, I know that I sure appreciate our chief and our deputy, and I know that Chalaka ni Wonisk, they appreciate everything he has done for them. And this is truly such of a honorable time because of the things that he has pushed. I know he talks about all of the different things that has happened since 2019. And it's important things, but let us not forget that we're losing about, when that first started, about 8% of our speaker population. So in the amount of time that we've had the Durbin Filling Act, and I know Speaker Services, some of you guys are here that works with Speaker Services, is doing everything they can to make sure that our speakers are here, but we still have lost around 20% of our population. So if you could think of 5 speakers and you take one of them away, that's what we're fighting. And we're fighting it every day. I'm thankful for Chief because in this administration and all the people that work so hard our council, because when we started looking at this, we pulled in focus groups from every direction, and we started asking them different things. There was 13 or 14 different demographics that was like, okay, when we start getting the community ready, we called it the community readiness model, that what would we have to do to get our people heart wrapped around? And I wanted to have the good and bad, the ugly, and them tell us this is too much money or whatever people was going to say. And so we pulled different demographics. People that's educated, non-educated, over this age, male, female, speakers, kids of speakers, at-large citizens that's, borders the state of Oklahoma or is in the state of Oklahoma versus those that are in states that don't border to Oklahoma. And we listened to everybody trying to figure out what would move people. And what we found out is everybody responded to two things. One is when we proved to Cherokees that our language was at risk of being lost, every demographic, every group stood up and said no. That won't work. When we pulled out graphs and said this is what our projections are, all of them said no. We will not lose our language. The second thing is when we started breaking down words and showing them how sacred our language was, they said no. So I know the heart of Ani Chalak and Nikadu Wag. And I know that they'll get behind us, and they are behind us. And so I'm very, very thankful for Chief, even though we push these different things, when it comes down to it, instead of having to worry about all of the different communities, and we work to try to get the community ready to push this from the outside in. We have a chief that's inside. We have a deputy chief's inside. We have a former chief that was inside that pushed this, and they carried this through. And I know that generations from now, that they will look at this and know that this is a time that we had leaders that stood up and did what was right. I think it's important. Well done. I think it's important to know our history and know who we are. We have overcame countless obstacles as a people. We've had the breath of Unethana breathe into us something very special that was unique, that made us Chalak. There's a philosophy, a holistic and a unique worldview that inhabits one's heart and one's mind when they speak Chalak. The language is sacred. Chalak gawoni histi uskedi dokan. And it is undoubtedly one of the key ingredients that this nation must remain and have to grow and remain as Cherokees. It and its philosophies that is embedded in it, Chalak aleb vikonoa dusk unetanahi wotlan, truly is the heart of what makes us a unique people. We are fighting for a peace that God has put into us. I believe, I've had elders talk to me about one of the Dikono Dust, one of the rules. Vegeta Lawol Desti. And they talk about, it's not just about loving one another or just liking. You have to find that peace of God. And what they've told me is that when you love somebody, you find that peace of God in that person. And as time goes on, you pull that out and you implement it in your own face. And as you grow older, you have a piece of Stanley Joe Crittenden right there, right? Because God gave us, every one of us, something very unique, something that's not learned, something that we inherited. And by the time you grow old, you have the face of God. And I know that within our language, when he breathed that into us, he gave us a piece of himself. And today, that's what we're fighting over. That's what we're pushing for. Because we refuse to lose the peace of God that God gave us. The peace that he's pulled out of his face and put in our heart. And that's why we stand. And that's why our leaders stand and push this so hard. I know that this peace is something that we will have until Unethanahi comes back, and we will stand as Jalak with that peace to give back to him. We have heard about the things that we've went through, and some of you guys have experienced the boarding schools and the numerous abuses and beatings that has occurred to cause this language to not be spoken to our kids and to be hidden. I know that these wounds, hemorrhages, are sacred language, and it causes some of the things that God put into us, some of the philosophies, as Anika Duwag, it causes it to fall briefly on the ground, but our young people are picking them up. There's pieces of God that we're picking up. We must not put our hand to the plow and look back. We named this meeting Da Notan. This is the time of year, this phase of moon, we Da Notan. We rebuild our fire. Every house and every village historically, where Cherokees reside, would take out their old fire and they would rebuild a new fire, rebuild that fire and put in their house. And just so happens that's what had happened right now at this time of year historically. Just right after the fall equinox, when the Cherokee New Year happened every year, annually, this would occur, where we would start to rebuild our fire, where we would thank God for what he had done for us throughout the year, thank God what he has given us, but bring in and rebuild our fire of who we are. We may have scars, but we rebuild in our fire. We are renewing ourselves. We are not fighting back, we're fighting forward. We will no longer hide our language. We will no longer be afraid to talk to our children. We will no longer worry about talking in stores or in the courts or in the halls of our government establishments. Children are once again playing in our language. What is walk up and down the halls of the immersion school and you hear our babies playing and chasing one another and joking with one another and kind of sometimes getting on to one another, maybe ridiculing a second there, but it's in Chalak. And I've noticed even yesterday we was at Reese's, used to, when I was a young man, I worked at IGA for years and years and years in Vian. Some of you guys may remember that. And I remember talking Cherokee, trying to talk Cherokee to speakers come in. And they'd pull me aside. And I remember one of them telling me, Chooch, I'm afraid that they may try to take you away. Stop talking, in front of people. Pull us aside and talk to us. We'll teach you anything you want, but we don't want you to get in trouble. We don't want you to, by the time it was finished, it was like that person thought I would go to jail. And that was what we have fought. Yesterday, walking in Reese's, one of my friends was at the checkout line, started talking to me in Cherokee. And we just loudly spoke it. We're not afraid. We're bringing it back into our stores. We're bringing it back to our establishment. This is a phenomenon that's happening throughout the tribe. You hear people learning and trying to speak. YouTube, this our RSU station and the things that we're doing with RSU. YouTube has about 600,000 views a year with what we're doing in language and what people are pushing for in language. So folks are trying to get that out again. We're in the middle of building a campus here that will be a village. We have homes and kids in some of them homes that are learning their language. Our baby immersion, some of them babies are coming in, their first words are in Cherokee. In the middle of this area, one day we'll have up to 38 homes, Cherokee speakers living right beside Cherokee-speaking family, where our babies will be born here and speak our language, and it be their first language. And when they leave the immersion school, they have a mom and dad that's speaking and learning Cherokee. And when they go to their neighbor's house, their first language speakers, when they want to ride the bicycle in the evenings, it's going to be in Cherokee. And it is in Cherokee. On weekends, it's in Cherokee. That's the purpose of the villages that we're trying to bring back, is our babies learn from the very beginning. We look to the hills. This is where our strength comes from. We look to our fires. We look to our elders, our children, because this is where our strength comes from. We once again are starting to rebuild first language speakers. We're moving forward. We're fighting forward. Chief, Deputy, Council, all Cherokees, Chalakani Wonisk, our friends that stand with us, fight forward and help us rebuild this fire. Each of you legacy, the God will done. And Chief Baker, we can now eat some hog meat.
See, not time to eat yet, Howard. Don't get everybody excited. Well, at this time, I'm going to ask the Cherokee Circle Choir to come up, and we're going to enjoy some good singing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Cherokee Circle Choir.
Get up here. We'll do it here. What's that? Oh, these are mics? Oh, you got a cordless mic? Okay, do you have a cordless mic?
Over there?
That one you have?
Over there, where you going, sir?
Well, you have a cordless mic? That will project better up here. Sio negadi ziza like. Hey, Gosta Zeno said, Est Augustina Hastania Hanzo Zidona. I said to the Ozan I said, we have not rehearsed, we haven't practiced, it's hard to get a group together. I said, no, many of you out there, I want, Jualedo, Selami, Juyohu Sunigat, probably can sing these songs just as good or better. I said, no, we're just going to try to get up here and give you a blessing. As a lecting gets on, they want called Sonali, but I would like to say, Chief Hoskins, they go one, they call him. When he talked, I want you guys to know, when he talked about legislation, that means he's just not talking about these projects he's talking about $25 million language project.
And he's talking about an $18 million project at Greasy. The way he's saying that, I want y'all to understand, he's the executive branch, deputy chief, but the tribal council is who he works with. They passed legislation to make this happen. He's just not talking. He's putting this into law. That's how they work together. No, Lanska, it's really good to have that kind of experience. Chief was a former council member. He was former Secretary of State. Our deputy chief was a former council member. Our treasurer, Janice, was a former council member and chairman of our finance committee. These people have had experience on the council. Now they're in the executive branch. They care a lot about where we're going as Cherokee people. He uses legislation. He uses the law. To get to where we are. So, let's give a chief and them another hand. And I really can't go any further without saying we just came back from a DJ would call it Ella Ward, Yellow Hill, Old Cherokee. Me, Hominy, and a guy named Rob Darty went up there last week. They really treated us good. As they said earlier, Cody was there. Lisa was there. Speaker was there. You know, when we go home these days to North Carolina, it's like we're gathered here today. More so than we ever had. Ever since that pandemic, it seems like when we look at each other, we see our numbers aren't as big as they used to be. You know, we'd see Bo Lossy there. We saw Myrtle there. We saw Mose Ugama out there. We ate breakfast one morning. We started to pay for our ticket, and they said, he already got it. Okay, we ate dinner there one night at Paul's. We started to pay. They already got it. You know, that's just the way it is. So when you see our brothers and sisters from Zalekeweto, you know, treat them, give them a hug, tell them you really appreciate them, because when you go out there, folks, they really, really take care of you. So anyway, like I said, we have not rehearsed. But like our speaker was saying earlier, we heard these songs all of our lives as little kids. I mean, we heard them. They're right here. So if we don't know these songs here, we must not have been listening in church. So we're going to give it our best shot. We don't even know what we're going to sing. All right, we're going to try something here. We'll see how it works. Come on, DJ.
Don't uniga we use the select. You can we use out to walk, Chuck, Gamele, do don't. They can have dance, they Hunski. Talene, Atalene, Guanigua, do don't. So it's on testy, Gamele. And the deputy chief is Guanigua, the son of encouragement. Okay. And Galak they go where it just fits him. So it's on testing.
Agi
see, people, the Cherokee language is still alive. There you go. You know, there's 573, is that correct, federal recognized tribes in the United States. God chose us to be Cherokee. Well done.
Let's hear it one more time for the Cherokee Circle Choir. Joe Bird said they didn't rehearse, but when I pulled up this morning, they was in a circle, and Joe had a jug blowing in it this morning. All right, at this time, now I'm going to ask a gentleman to come up and bless the food and bless the rest of the day, but don't leave right after he's done praying. We'll have a few more announcements. But please welcome at this time Mr. Clifton Pettit.
Okay, just a quick reminder, on November the 8th in Atlantic, Georgia, there's going to be I believe it's going to be a great celebration for the Cherokee Nation. What has happened is a resolution has passed in the state of Georgia that they are going to be apologizing for removing the Cherokee Nation out of our region at that time. And that will take place right outside the Capitol building in Atlantic, Georgia. It's open unto anybody that wants to come. I believe it's a great thing that's happening, because if we know our history here today, what happens is when John Ross was the chief at that time, and what happened was they told the Cherokees, you guys cannot have no more council meetings here at the new Ishoto. And what happened was they had to go to another place which we call close to Chattanooga, Tennessee. And what they did was they held their last council meeting there before they came this way. So I believe that when in an apology that's going to be given, somebody has to be there to accept that apology. And somebody has to say, we receive what you are addressing and what you're doing to the Cherokee Nation. So it's going to be a great big event that will be taking place. Everybody is welcome to come there. And I really do believe that this is something that we need to really look at, because I believe we're already launching out as a Cherokee Nation, but when they apologize, there's things that happens in the heavenly realms, in the spiritual realm. And I also want to say here today that if we know our history, before the Trail of Tears, not all of what we call the European government did not vote for the Trail of Tears, and that's something that we have forgotten. I believe it lost by one vote, and at that time, David Crockett was seated in the state of Tennessee, and right after that, he went on back down to Texas. He was for us, and I believe that needs to be addressed, because sometimes we Cherokees think it was all of the United States government that was for us. Somebody needs to acknowledge, we thank you for those of you that stood with us at that time that did not want this removal. So there's a lot that's going to be happening. And as we launch out, I believe it's going to be a great thing. God is going to do more than what we're seeing here right now. He's going to do more. Things are going to open up. And I believe the Ancient of Time is getting ready to come. Crosland Smith always said, it's not until we get back on that white path. Unagi gana in. And now we got kilo histinale, ele igahnikistic says, it all you're gonna do Lee Hest, Jalaki, Ayeto, Udu Taleste, Nikan, Octa, Nusta, Octala, Shiton, Kohi going in. And that's what we need. The Ancient of Time, the old ways, what the Creator had given unto us, we're going to walk back in it. The Ancient of Time. You find that in the book of Isaiah. A lot of Christians will say it's Jesus coming back, but it's us coming back to the old ways of God. Okay, itato lista. Utskonekeli digo te kohi ego. Skonekana wujata ijali eli che kohi ego. Ahane sa won aliv kayagata thisho jingast. Skonekana nusta ajigo tenha kohi ego. Isho ile nusta. Octale shitonha kohi ego. Skonekana atadato liste. Israel he stale kohi ego in. Skonekana awohi. How yin jatana take Nicohila, Elenaji shul gun, Agatato lista, Sawu, Elenita Jane, Heto Jagaton Taya, Dacha Tato Hine, Johnny, Swanehana, Nihi, Ijali Eliche, Kohi Ego. At stop the Leiski, Oste, Aji Wati Kohi Ego. Hestin, Eskia Nagan Nest. Nike, you guess says, Nicohi ego, just sta, Squanetana, I got stealth to guess says, Aji yellow, Kohi ego in. Squanetana, the he jata yose, Nico Hila, Hob Nichatanate, guessed. What on?
What oh, Clifton? Okay, well, thank you guys again for coming, and for those who attended virtually, thank you. That does conclude the program, but we are going to go ahead and eat. If you're an elder and you can't, you're not able to go get your own plate, just stay where you're at, keep your hand up, and somebody will serve you. If you are able, it's going to be a buffet-style line. And also, very important, this time of year is coming up. We have flu shots available here today, as well as COVID vaccines here available. So please, if you're able to do that, please do that today. Other than that, wadon, enjoy the food. I hope I see everyone with shiny hog grease lips in a little bit. Wadon.